Thank you.
We'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consider for approval of minutes and agenda.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Center and a second from Jensel to approve the minutes and agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Well, Scott, 7511, isn't it? 7530, and then Chris is 7511.
You reached Scott Minders, County Engineer. Please leave a message and I'll get back.
Well, should we table that for now then?
Very
Move
good.
on to, let's see,
Probation.
capital asset policy.
That's all
That's with him.
Scott stuff.
Okay. We'll move on to number 5. Now you need your probably 7511.
This is Chris.
We're up to drainage already.
Okay.
Thank you. How much drainage you get?
Inch.
I had
Inches and
1.1, but there was flowers hanging over the top of it, so who knows? Came hard and heavy.
Yep.
So what do you have, Chris?
I don't have anything that's not on here.
Okay. So I'm guessing you guys would like to discuss your letter that you sent of protest?
Yep.
All right. I guess I'll let you have the floor to explain it.
Right. Our concerns are that we're moving one problem down on the other people, on the lower end of the ditch. And we think that everybody should have a vote in DD 11, not just the upper end.
Right. Well, one of the things that we are still trying to address is that bottom end, trying to straighten it out through the Corps of Engineers. So it doesn't slow it down through all those trees. Maybe it'll be more of a straight shot below, just, beyond the road there. That is one thing we're still working on. The engineers, trying to have that conversation with the Corps of Engineers. Regardless of anything, since it's been annexed, I think, in my opinion, whether the improvement goes through or not, that probably needs to happen anyway, to straighten it out down at the bottom. But that would be an improvement on the bottom. So then everybody would have a say in that. So we're actually talking about 2 improvements, one at the top and one at the bottom.
But you guys don't think an inch coefficient is going to be way too much water, water coming down?
What's your thoughts on it?
Typical ditch is at least 2-inch coefficient. It's almost impossible to overload a ditch with a tile. Surface water, if you can get surface water to the ditch, you can get it full. But it's limited how much of the area you can take to the ditch by surface. Most of it will be by tile. So, and that upper part is the improvement. Drainage law would not take into account the land down below as far as having a say in this improvement. We got the tile, and it goes to the dug ditch, and then it goes to the more natural ditch. So that technically there's no way to vote for the lower end of it, the people.
Okay, so if we're gonna straighten out the lower end of it, then that's part of the upper end improvement?
Yeah, well, no, that's separate,
That's a separate
separate
improvement.
deal, yes,
So it is a lower improvement.
yes, yes.
Would you explain the legal parameters we have to operate under from the state?
Is-
As
well,
far as who can vote?
Right.
Yeah.
All that.
Basically, anytime you do an improvement, anybody who would be helping pay for that improvement can be involved in the remonstrance where you can stop a project. If it's an improvement, you can stop a project by having the majority of the landowners owning 70% of the land opposed, but it's just the people that would be paying or benefiting. So it's not a benefit to the people on the lower end to be doing this tile project. Therefore, they're not paying. Therefore, they don't have really a say in remonstrance.
Does it end up being a detriment when you're on the bottom though, and all your culverts and your tiles are already set at a certain level, and now you bring in more water that keeps the ditch that much fuller? Is it a detriment to you then?
Well, part of what's happened with this one is that tile up there is in horrendous shape. I mean, there's main tile of DD11 running right through ponds because the tile are basically destroyed. So even restoring what's there would appear to be an increase in flow. And it would be an increase over what's happening today because the tile is not in good repair. So you'd see some increase if all they did is go in and repair. There will be some additional flow if we go to 1-inch coefficient on that ramp. But it still has to come all the way through that open ditch, through the natural stream to get to the bottom of that. So it's going to dampen the effect. But yes, it would be an increase in flow even if you repaired. It would be more of an increase in flow if you do the improvement. But the ditch is typically 2 to 3 times the capacity of any tile you can dump into.
What size is the tile up there now?
I don't know.
You talking about where it dumps into the ditch?
I'm talking about what he wants to improve at the upper end. If it's a 10-inch tile and he wants to put a 65-inch tile in there, that's quite a difference in size.
I think we should
And I don't know why the bottom end should be affected. I think the law kind of reads we have to take surface water, but once you start piping or channeling or pumping, it makes it a whole different story.
Not really. If you're in the watershed.
But it wasn't, it was in the natural stream. And I think
It's a 20.
I'm not a lawyer,
It's a 24 right now.
and you wanna go 40 inches bigger,
30.
30 inches bigger. Or an open ditch further up with more pipe.
Yeah, there's some open ditch we're planning to do because you can't get cover on the pipe.
So you've already determined that you're gonna do an open ditch then?
Part of it, just because we can't get cover on the tile. We're gonna get bids on that, yes.
Yeah, you got 3 bids out there and 2 are with open ditch. So that other one should just be thrown out.
It's probably gonna be thrown out. We have to do some open ditch in order to get capacity. Because we can't put in a big enough tile to even get a 1-inch coefficient without the tile almost being exposed.
So why'd you bid it that way then?
We haven't bid it.
Well, why'd you even have an option with a 66-inch?
Because you always, okay, the petition was for improved drainage, and you would typically look at tile. So we looked at tile. But then with getting our field information, we could see then that there wouldn't be any cover. So that's why we ended up going for the ditch option, 2 ditch options actually.
I don't think your outlet's adequate, because right now you flood the road south of the elevator occasionally, not every time. The river's backed up. They're not gonna let you clean the river.
No, that's true.
So the natural thing is that the water's gonna keep backing up. Our existing tiles and culverts are gonna be underwater longer to pacify the people at the top.
Basically, that's true. I mean, because there'll be some increase in flow.
Yeah.
But
So we're to take the water, and that's just the way it is.
unfortunately, that's the law. Yeah, the idea is to do everything we can on that lower end to help it out. It's just hard to do a lot of straightening to get the core and DNR to go along with it. Now, one thing I don't think we've talked about, to get credit for straightening, one option is to install a new ditch somewhere, but that ditch has to have set aside alongside it, and they prefer things like rock checks, like you may have a rock across the bottom and 2 feet high to slow the water a little bit. We're pursuing that in hopes that that will also help your situation. One thing we're probably going to need to do yet is seek approval to do some tree removal to actually get survey information on that lower part. It's so thick. I don't know if either of you have land that it actually travels through. If you do, your 2 people will want to talk to about doing some clearing on the path that the creek follows. In hopes that helps things get through there too. I think it's like a lot of places that are wooded, there's over time trees come down and there's blockage. I don't know if there's beaver activity in there. I haven't been close enough to.
All that land is on the Ambrosen land, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's all that different Ambrosens.
Okay. So yeah, drainage is a slow process typically, but the board is not about to give up on trying to do something down on the lower end to help that situation.
Well, the lower end has to be fixed before the top end, doesn't it? Are we doing that all backwards?
Not really.
Well, they can say that the bottom end has to be done first.
We don't.
Well, we don't have total control because we have to get permission from the,
Aren't you acting as trustees of the district though?
we're acting trustees, but they have, the Corps has the control over what really needs to be done.
That is true. Our
No,
hands
but-
are so tied.
But cleaning the trees first and everything, doesn't that have to be done before you even think about the
I would hope
top?
that could happen, yeah.
Their hands are tied.
Even for cleaning trees?
Usually we get permission to clear the trees, to clean out the area, because it's unnatural obstruction. So,
If you,
This
if
is
you,
a little different because it's never been a district before.
Right.
It was a natural waterway.
yeah,
And now it's a district. So we're kind of starting something new here with
and
it.
that was a big step in the right direction to try and get, so they could get approval to do work down there. That tile project has to come through so much of existing system before it gets to you. I think it's gonna be held back a little bit compared to what it could be. But I think we do need to pursue at least doing tree removal so we can get more field information. And I guess we haven't made that an official item on an agenda. We should probably do that.
but you guys as trustees, you can put restrictions on the upper end of how much they can, you can.
Not really. It still comes down to a vote of the people that are paying. And it's not really a vote. The vote is filing an objection as a landowner, and it has to be a majority of the landowners objecting, and they have to own 70% of the land to stop a proposed improvement.
all three of us could object to this whole project completely and it would still go through.
I guess it just seems weird you're gonna move a water problem from up on top and put it on the rest of us.
We agree fully with that.
I just don't understand the reasoning that,
will you have any idea of timeline if we can straighten it out some and work with Core, how long that would take?
About all we could hope to accomplish this year is getting significant tree removal taken care of, with application, maybe perhaps official application this winter to get some kind of response by next
So
spring.
when you say tree removal on the entire winding part,
We would prefer that, so you have good information. The problem is you may have to go to bid letting for that. I'd like to see, the board can do up to $50,000 worth of repair with no bid letting, anything, just negotiate. So I'd like to see how far that would go, I guess.
but I guess my question is, are we wasting our money if we're gonna straighten it out?
No, because you'd have to do something with the trees anyway, to do the straightening, to have room to work. So no, you wouldn't be wasting.
Off the top of your head, do you know the grade level from the Winnebago River to where all these trees are?
I don't.
I think it's much steeper through the tree area than it is the upper ends of the district.
I believe he's correct. I don't have any
From
numbers.
the river, Winnebago River to the trees.
To the trees.
Is that, and it's fruitless, in my opinion, it's fruitless to take care of the trees, and if there's no grade, or to flow through to the Winnebago River. So
We probably have shots from DD2. I'm just trying to think how far away we are. We're quite a ways away from that.
DD1, you mean?
Well, I was thinking of, well, DD1 clean out, yeah, DD1 clean out.
Scott,
for example, is like your brother up there by Starville, Jerry Rundis told me, he said, you can go look at the Winnebago River, and if it's overflowing the banks, Gordy's not gonna get drainage, and so.
And one of my questions is, when it starts going over the road in that one location, is it because the Winnebago River is backed up to it, or is it because of the water coming down from this?
I would guess it's restricted because the river's full. If you're gonna bring more water down, that guy that bought that house there, or lives in that house, I would guess his house is gonna be gone. I mean, what value is that gonna have when you flood his home out? And I think they put restrictions on you you can't do anything south of the elevator through that road. They don't want any more culverts through the road, did they?
I'm not sure.
I thought that came out once before that the city of
Oh, as
Leland.
far as across the county road?
Yeah,
I don't remember where that happened with that.
Is that,
The road is at a level where it will always overtop before it will flood any houses. So it's kind of unfortunate for the road department that that's kind of the overflow release valve, but fortunate for any of the town. So even if that road wasn't there, the water level would still be that high. Take the road, the bridges all the way out because of the backwater from the river.
so then if you remove the road, then the water would go into that river bottom land rather than backing up on our farmland? Are you able to do that?
I think it would appear to me that it would spread out just like it currently does. The river's so high, it just spreads and spreads and spreads further and further back upstream. And whether the road or culverts are there or not, it would behave similarly.
But I'm wondering if it would be beneficial to the people on the west side of the gravel road if you put more culverts in that to get rid of the water and put it in the river bottom. Are you able to do that?
Wouldn't seem so. It just, the restriction comes from not the size of the pipes, but the backwater from the river. If we had, 5, 10 pipes in there, I don't think you'd see a difference in the behavior of the water level.
Because once it gets so high, it runs over the road anyway, and then you've got kind of like the road's not there in a sense.
Right.
Gotta be like 4 feet deep to go over the road. If it doesn't have to meet that
The
level.
last time it went over the road that I remember, it was going over the road and the water on the other side of the road was only maybe 3-4 inches lower. You know, so it's not like it's going over and then dropping 4 feet. You know, that would tell you that the pipes are too small, but, and that was before we replaced it with the culverts. That was when it was a bridge. And to my knowledge, it hasn't gone over since the pipes were in.
To me, the biggest culprit is when that is. And you used to farm, I don't know if you still do farm up there in State Line, across from Galen's.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Bear Creek there, when it hits Iowa, then the jam starts.
Yeah.
And, a lot of water's coming out of there.
Those culverts were in 2 years ago, weren't they?
Put in, 2 years ago, this coming November, right? So, not last fall, but the fall prior.
Because it was over the road well. They were in now.
Yeah. Last summer it was over the road.
Last summer, was it
Irrigated. I don't know, but it
Well,
It
I was
was-
gone for a couple of weeks in June, and I know we had some.
Well, what was the level
2 or 3
on both
times.
sides of the road?
What taper?
Level of water.
It leveled off because it was over the road.
Right, right.
And the
So
water
what
pushed on
Scott's
it.
saying is, you can put 100 culverts in, and it would still be the same on either side of the road. Correct?
Because the river backs up, restricts the flow of the culverts, and
Did I say that
it'll
right?
back up, spread out that way, so I guess.
But last year was wet, this year was wet, and I don't have any drowned out. So, if you go ahead with this project and there ends up being drowned out, then we don't
Yeah,
have
if
any
you didn't get
option.
drowned out in the last couple of years, we've
It's been wet,
been much above normal.
so, and I don't
And
have,
if this changes and happens,
you gonna dam it up then, or what are you gonna do, or blow it up?
well, maybe we can get all the guys that are up on the top side to pay your crop damage.
We still
Do you have
have,
any idea how much water this is gonna add? I mean, explain it in terms of, I can
Well,
understand it.
it's,
16 times. He said one time it was running at 1/16 of an inch coefficient.
because it's in terrible condition and no
And you wanna
slope.
put it to 1 inch coefficient, so.
If you improved it to what it is now, the flow would increase.
Yes,
If you
If we
fix the tile to its original state of repair,
flow would increase
yes.
But I mean drastically, I mean,
Repair would be a significant increase because it's essentially blocked. Now, we have all those acres, they're contributing little or nothing to the flow downstream. Whereas if you restored it, it'd be significant flow, but it's way less coefficient than we're talking about putting in now. But I still fall back to the statement that ditches are typically 2 to 3 inch coefficient, where maximum tile we're seeing put in is 1 inch coefficient.
The tile probably wouldn't overwhelm it unless, if the river wasn't backing it up.
Right.
But that 2-inch rain here just a few weeks ago, that tile was running pretty much full at the end of the ditch.
It could be, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So where's that water coming from if you say it's plugged?
Tile connections.
Was the first half mile across the road still in good working condition? Because it's been repaired several times there.
Lower half mile basically, or I believe it's been repaired enough, it's in decent condition.
Right, but
The
when
part I'm talking about is at least in the upper half.
Yeah.
I know that, because we couldn't even get a four-wheeler across it.
I think in that first mile, the first half of it is probably in good working condition, but once you get turned to the northwest, then it gets in pretty
Yes.
bad shape.
Yeah, I know it was on the upper half that they said that was the worst, where it just stayed ponded. We had to use track four-wheeler to even get through it.
And if that tile is improved, it will also help drain that ground before there's a big
There
rain.
you go.
And it'll relieve pressure somewhat that way, which all tile do that, because you know,
Yeah.
you think that you get it directly to the river is gonna create flooding even worse. But lots of times, part of it you gotta factor in is the fact that the ground got drier, so therefore it's gonna absorb more moisture too.
That makes a huge difference because you end up getting it dried out enough that you can take a 1 or 2 inch rain and have little or no drown out because there's holding capacity available in the soil. That's a really good point. Matter of fact, that's an argument that's used when people are complaining about agriculture and draining so much ground. The idea is you can't over tile an area. The soil has a certain holding capacity. But if you can get it down to that by having good drainage all the time, you minimize the effect of a 1 to 2 inch rain. It's a really good point. And it's why it's not a good arguing point for where cities that flood a lot should not be blaming agriculture.
I did see a statistic on TV last night, and it said, I think 10% of the water that comes down on agricultural land, 10% ends up in the drainage system, you know, to the rivers. In the city, I think it's 55% ends up in the river.
Sounds like a reasonable statistic.
I would have thought it might have been higher.
But it also probably varies.
Buildings.
Yeah.
It varies.
Certain parts of town would be 100% runoff, yeah. But you take into account the residential lots with fair amount of grass and, yeah. If I was gonna put a number on the city runoff, I'd put it at 70 or 80%, but I'm sure there was scientific backing for that.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that it was that low in a sense, which is still,
Yeah.
So anyway, anything else you wanna?
So are you guys gonna try to do the bottom end first? Or are you just gonna,
We're trying to get something done on it.
can't you guys just say we're just gonna do this project first and then?
Carla said she's got a contact through our ISAC where people will come in and harvest the trees, basically. They don't dig anything out, they just harvest the trees, get rid of the trees out of there for fairly reasonable. So we're gonna try and
they use
connect
the
that.
lumber and pallets and stuff.
They use it for like playground mulch and stuff.
Oh, they use it for that. Oh, all right. I guess it was the other one that did that. They used it for pallets.
In the past, they used to use the big cottonwoods for pallet lumber. We had contractors that were doing that, but that's been a while.
Well, I think that's a reasonable request. Is there something stopping us from doing that?
Well, there's even some of the guys on the upper level that wanted to stop this, but they couldn't, wasn't it? If I remember right, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just one guy owns enough that,
Yeah.
they couldn't do anything if they wanted.
About any project that's an improvement, there's people against the cost. Well, I think we pursue that lower end as far as doing what we can sooner rather than later, but not give up on straightening.
Right. Unfortunately, the upper end is the easy one to get done because you don't have to go through all the hoops.
Yep.
There's still hoops yet. How are you doing on the wetland determination?
Well, I haven't checked recently the percentage we have back, but
So,
that's
yeah,
something I'll need to do.
there are hoops we're going through.
Yeah,
But not as many as the bottom.
true.
One less government entity.
So that's not a done deal then?
Well, it's,
It determines the design.
well, not necessarily the design, but it determines how much wetland mitigation may have to be done.
Right.
So that'll affect the bottom line as far as total cost to the project. So I will check that again. I haven't checked it for a while.
So these farmers haven't got back on their wetlands yet?
Typical situation is most of them have, they maybe NRCS has not been able to finish them. So I'll follow up on that.
That theoretically could stop that, correct, the improvement?
Not stop it, it could affect the cost to some of the landowners. You have to mitigate the wetlands, so the landowner has to pay some of the cost to establish wetlands somewhere else. It affects the bottom line.
Does each landowner pay their own mitigation, or does the
Typical
district pay it?
situation in most counties is the landowner will pay half and the district pay the other half, so the project is a good project. So no landowner is penalized severely. I'm not sure, I guess, how Winnebago's been doing it, actually.
We haven't had to do any mitigation since I've been here, so I don't know.
Okay.
Suppose Emerson, like Jim, would be interested in creating a mitigation bank down at the bottom there.
I might be if you're gonna flood me completely out, other than the hilltop.
Because there's money in it.
I'm sure he would, because he never got paid on the drowned out stuff from Benson the year before.
Right. So it just
Because
depends
it's
on what would
20-some acres
qualify
there.
to go into a mitigation bank.
Yeah.
Some of it probably wouldn't qualify, but some of it would. And if it's that cut up, there's not a lot of large areas that are there to farm. It's pretty small. That might be enough to help with the mitigation.
The advantage you have in this district, call it an advantage, is there's extensive tile in it already. It's just, it's not in good working condition, and it's undersized. But depending on the NRCS and FSA office attitude, if there's a system there already, a lot of them will not consider those being wetland areas.
It's changed over the last few years.
Yes. And it used to be you had to do 1.5 to 2 times as many acres as you were draining. And now it's 1 to 1 typically. That helped. Just way too much control on everybody's land as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Anything else for now? We are listening,
Okay.
so we're trying to.
I guess one
right
other thing,
process.
if you can mitigate on the top, that's fine if you're on the top, but when you're in the middle and hung out, it don't, me to mitigate, the water's gonna come across me, so I'm stuck with the water.
Any improvement on the top, somebody pattern tiles their field, whatever, all that, it all puts pressure on the guy that's downhill, because now all of a sudden all their water has gotta go through his ground before his own ground can drain. I mean, I guess I kind of changed the phrase a little bit. All's not fair in love and war and drainage. It's,
Ain't
sometimes.
fair when you got money involved.
Well, no, I agree with you. I mean,
And the law talks about upper land and lower land, and that the upper land has the right to drain onto the lower land.
mhm.
You can't block them. I mean, the
Surface water. Right?
no, it doesn't say surface. But, yeah, I have empathy for the situation you're in, and this board is trying to help that situation however they can.
And that's why sometimes in the past, they've found restrictions in tile have been disc plates slipped in between the tile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Restricted it down to the whole disc plate instead of the whole tile.
Mhm.
And you know if you got any 65 inches.
Yeah, no, that's a big disc.
I've also seen them block it completely with like signs. Aluminum signs are thin enough that you can slide it down between the.
Was it a stop sign?
I've seen that, I've heard of that. I haven't seen it personally, but yeah. It's the general right kind of shape.
Okay.
The input's good. It is.
Well, and the bottom end needs to be taken care of. It's
Yeah.
just all there is to it. It's just which one can we get done first?
Yeah.
It looks like it's the upper end, unfortunately.
Well, if we can get these trees removed and get that process started, I think that'd be a
Yeah.
plus for
Yeah.
everybody.
That'd be a real big plus.
Okay. Well, Dean, did you have anything?
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering, I called your office here a while back and talked to somebody, have somebody come out, take a look at the culverts that are on the north side of the ditch on my property there. And I never did get to hear back from anybody from your office that come out, physically take a look to see what that would take to help stabilize those culverts.
Is this DD 21?
Yeah. A few years ago, where the trees were taken down because they're falling in the ditch, and then they added another culvert to where the one is, and they didn't do anything to really stabilize it. They didn't put any riprap or rock, and it kind of slid in as the, well, especially this year, it's been bad with the surface drainage we've had. Like we mentioned earlier, with I'm seeing a lot more rain or a lot more water coming that way too, then it's kind of outdated system where it is right now.
I'll get your name and contact information so we can be sure and follow it.
Is that pipe that's uncovered out there?
It's kind of open, it's kind of slid down into what's
Yeah.
reached.
That was the one unit I looked at, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah.
It's on 21.
Right.
Yeah, right, not too far from the start of the open ditch.
Okay.
Where that big main that comes across here dumps into the end of it, and that's where the ditch starts. Be just a little bit northwest of Rake.
Just get burned from the cemetery. I just kind of wondered too, once it gets approved, the joblets, do you know when that would start then? Would it be after harvest or before?
The clean out?
Yeah,
Um,
we're getting up close to harvest time.
We're getting, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of, hate to see that.
Here's the worst case that should happen, is if the system started, you keep any of the dirt within like 15 feet of the edge. So that the worst they destroy is along the very edge. Now, we're gonna try and convince them to wait, to crop right up to the edge.
Yeah.
And that's what I say, but just keep it really close to the edge.
Because you're not supposed to have crops in the right of way.
Yeah. But it's right out in the middle of the field too, so they're gonna be damaged going up to their project, to them to get it
Yeah.
sold and stuff to it, so.
We'll see here later who gets that job, and we'll talk to them right away on time.
Drainage districts pay crop damage? Can they do something like that if they go there and do it?
If they
They have in the past. I know.
cut across,
Seems
yeah.
like I remember hearing some of that.
Typically, they don't pay for right next to the ditch for crop damage.
You got,
Within the easement.
Right.
there's buffer strips along this near, so,
Not much of it.
not much more.
My tenant's got some big equipment, so it's not like years ago when they had 4-row and 8-row, so.
I'm sorry, what was the name?
Dean Anderson. Anderson, SEN.
Phone number?
Cell phone is 641-590-3186.
My apologies, I probably misplaced a note on my desk or something, so we'll definitely get back to you.
I appreciate that.
Do we wanna, since we have the 10 o'clock bid letting, do we wanna go back to the county engineer and get him taken care of?
Thank you.
Morning, Scott.
Morning. Don't have much for you today. Haven't been out to our G2W bridge here in a few days. They were hauling dirt last Thursday, and I believe they got all the dirt hauled there. So I expect that they're finished grading and putting in culvert pipes in the ditch and rocking the road here if, you know, as weather cooperates. So.
Now that, there's a washout in the drainage ditch that looks like it's about, or I can't remember if I talked to you about this, maybe I did last week. That it's 10 feet away from the right of way, about what I guess. So that would be the drainage district's responsibility. It's, I mean, the driveway goes right along the ditch, and then the washout is right this side. So that would be purely the drainage district.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. But I didn't, it wasn't scientific, I just stepped it off.
Sure. Well,
And then the other thing is on, I believe it's 50th, and then going to 300 and, or 440th, I think. where they're building that new hog facility. Just a little bit northeast of Upland Center, mile north. And, yeah, it's out in that area, yeah. I've heard that I didn't get out there and get it looked at myself. Someone called me yesterday, and it's been tore up pretty good by the cement trucks going out there. Is that and I believe it's level, might be level B. Is that the county's responsibility to fix that up, or can we get, the guy that called thought it should be the responsibility of the people tearing it up.
We'll start there.
Yeah, let's see whether they're, because isn't that also the road where they wanted to know the cost of bringing it up to a level
Let's
A?
go on.
It sounds like to me with that, when I read it again after we talked about it a few weeks ago or whatever, that they might be willing to pay the extra to have
I
us.
haven't heard that.
I think that'd be a question we should probably ask.
Okay, I'll talk to them.
If they were willing to pay what it would cost to turn that back to a level A, would the county be willing to, would you guys be in support of
Would
that?
that be a special assessment of some sort?
Sort of, I guess. I think most counties treat it as kind of you pay for it directly, or pay for the material directly and then somehow reimburse the county for the cost of the equipment and labor, whatever.
How does that yearly?
But the decisions obviously have to do as a board, but from a maintenance standpoint, it's the winter maintenance that really makes the big difference.
And, whether I'm assuming they don't want to have to do it themselves, because they'd have to have manpower to do it, and the equipment and stuff like that. And I haven't talked to anybody, I just thought about it, and if we were willing to work with them on that, it might be a little more apt to repair the damage on the road too. I've been out to see how bad it is.
Yeah, I've had recent discussion with Mitch Blom from Summit Farms about it, so I'll follow up with him and see where we go.
All right.
Do you have anything else then? Do you have anything more for engineer? All right. We'll move on to consider for approval Title VI information for Iowa DOT.
We have set up a meeting with the Iowa DOT's Civil Rights Title VI Coordinator, and we'll be going over some plan documents. If you remember, in 2014, we passed some policy and assurances, they call them. This is to anyway, we'll be updating those documents and having you look through them in preparation for our meeting with Tracy. I'll have to spend some time with it, and I'll brief you on it when I've done so.
Didn't we have to have the documents signed today to send them back? Because I think we had to have them back to the other town.
We have an appointment scheduled, so I guess I'm comfortable that they understand we're working with them.
Okay.
So, still to come.
Probably tabled till next week, and I should have things to you.
Okay. Thank you. Consider for approval Winnebago County Capital Asset Policy.
This is one of the things that Elizabeth discussed in her audit last March that needed updating, so Scott and his office have updated his policy with the correct DOT numbers, basically.
my understanding is that all of the capital assets from the county are depreciated, and this helps give a prescription for those depreciation rates and helps us give a figure on our net worth, essentially.
Well, entertain a motion.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Got a motion from Stenser and a second from Jensel to approve the Winnebago County capital asset policy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So just a stamp then.
I think we better.
Alright, so we'll move on to, we can go ahead and do number 6, consider for approval contract with Jacobson Westergaard to reclassify DD 48.
That should be here.
Okay, can I get a copy of that stamped? Okay,
Yes.
unless the policy.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve contract with Jacobson Westergaard to reclassify DD 48.
Second.
Motion from Jensel and a second from Stender to approve the Jacobson Westergaard contract to reclassify DD 48. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Alright. Consider for approval reclassification of DD 29 and appoint engineer.
This one, we did have some work done with Gary Wonder and all of that, and there was some work done on Lat 10, and it's not classified out by laterals.
That's the one with the hard work done, right?
Yes, yes.
So it sounds like they found,
I think so. They're getting me a better estimate.
sounds like they
What's
did
it
a
gonna
better
take?
job finding the problem than
Mhm.
the contractor for NRCS.
So I think we're on the right track with it anyway. So I would like to see that reclassified and appoint Jacobson Westergaard.
That's,
I'll make a motion to approve the classification of DD 29 and appoint engineer as Jacob Westergaard.
I'll second the motion. On a motion from Jensel and a second from Drury to appoint Jacobson Westergaard to reclassify DD 29. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This was the open forum. Oh, I
We
moved.
go back to auditors.
Oh, drainage.
I think we need to discuss the approved list of contractors we have
Okay.
and how we address somebody that comes in, works on a county tile without permission.
Yes. We can put that on the agenda and I'll give
We can
you,
discuss it.
but to approve it,
Oh.
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, we can do that for next week to have it updated.
Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
We do have one case that, non-approved, it was basically the person farming the land
Mm-hmm.
dug an opening
Yep.
over the tile and it sat open for over a year.
Yep.
And now we have some plugged tile, but we don't, it was water sitting there when he opened it up, so he never, we don't know if all the damage came from me, because above that was also where the DOT jetted some roots out, and it might have just dumped it down into that portion of the tile. So we can't prove it, but we need to control how that works.
In talking with Mike the other day, it's one of those, you know, if the district has to fix it, and the district knows who did it, the district can. The landowners can just fight that out. If I don't know, because nobody's ever sent me a bill, that person that fixed it or whatever he did never sent me a bill, so I didn't know he did anything. If you guys don't see it, I don't know how we know. But then let the landowners say, hey,
Well, if you
you
don't
did
actually
this,
see
why
it.
do we have to pay?
If you don't actually see the person out there working, but then all of a sudden you see some holes, you know, it's hard to know.
It's, exactly. And I don't know how we would police that.
Yeah.
We've got a whole county. But if the district has to fix it, the district has to fix it, and I'll have to pay.
This one, regardless, is gonna be about 800 foot, 12 inches, gotta be replaced.
You have $7,000. But yes, we can certainly, I'll give you an updated list of who I have as contractors.
Ready to, curve and
Across from mine, north of my place, across the road. The other thing, I have to keep an eye on, if there's still problems north of that curve. I would say the county state might have problems again, 'cause sure, they jetted the roots, but did they stop the problem? The trees are still there.
Just put it all, keep it all.
They never replaced the tile with solid tile.
There were a couple people on that wanted to be on our contractor list that we approved, but have never sent me an insurance, proof of insurance. And I sent out another letter because some of them had expired, so I just did give me a new list. They still haven't.
well, that's a must.
Right, so I'm not calling them and have not called them. So,
I know, which is the other one again? Shaggy and-
Derek Yagi, and there was somebody over, some Helgeson.
This all okay.
Brian, is it?
Yeah, I remember that.
Again,
Yeah, so,
I'll talk to him again.
It's up to him, so if he wants the work.
And maybe he's busy enough to listen.
well, I think we need to dig just on the surface, the reputation they have too. You know, I mean, they can do a lot of damage if they don't want to do it.
But so can the people we have. We're just trusting that they're all doing a good job.
They should have a reputation, I think.
They should.
Do we want to go ahead and do open forum? Anybody have anything for open forum? Hearing none. We want to discuss the possible action regarding contract with Waste Management for rural recycling.
Probably the time.
I spoke with Mayor of Forest City because of the lack of tax credits and things like that. He didn't seem too optimistic that we could develop some kind of a program to make it a viable situation, so I guess I'd be in support. Do they have a current 5-year?
No, we have nothing. We've done no negotiations with them. Did you talk to the gentleman? He was gonna get a hold of you. Okay.
Unless he was claiming to be Social Security Administration and cutting off my number. I haven't talked to him.
Okay.
Had 4 phone calls from Social Security Administration in 13 cutting me off. So, well, I guess I won't be able to work, I won't be able to retire.
And if you give them their social security number, they can make it all better.
Well, I don't know, I didn't get that far. That's ridiculous. We have laws and stuff, so. Always a different number too. How did you get my cell phone number?
It's hard to stop somebody when they're in India or whatever. They make fake phone numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say, yeah, we need to
I'll
get
get
a
with him.
contract in
Yep.
place, what
Mhm.
they're offering, before we can.
Yep.
Did you guys get a chance to look at the county claims, selling the county claims?
Yep, I'm making a motion to approve this.
I'll second.
A motion from Stensrud and a second from Jensol to approve the county, semi-monthly county claims. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we can wait until our 10 o'clock. Now we'll be online with, Susan involved in this one.
I suppose. I gave him to Kurt.
What that?
You want to let them have any input or not?
You know, I suppose they want. Here's the phone number, Bill.
Oh,
When you get ready. It's,
bottom one there?
yeah, it's the Board of Supervisors and then they'll transfer you.
Okay.
This is the bid tab we'll be typing out later today. And this gives you the cost estimate for each of the 3 sections of this bid. Looks like we have 3. I have this in case there's more bidders, but this one's easy to write on for total bid. And I'll drop back and tell you what it is for each of the 3 sections.
It'd be great to have more, yeah.
You wanna write them down or not?
Yeah, because I don't know if she's gotten any bids.
I never
So I gotta hit 9 first, is it?
They would just have to have somebody open it.
Yeah, yes.
Like their chairperson.
Thank you.
Yeah, if they have an in.
Good. Yeah.
Auditor's office is Christy. May I help you?
Morning, Christy. This is the Winnebago County Supervisors. We're having a bid letting with the Sioux County Supervisors at 10 o'clock.
Okay, let me transfer you to them. Can I put you hold a second?
Sure.
Sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk since February, Democrats now labeling him the grim reaper of legislation. And instead of saying he's going to bring Congress back to act on these bills, McConnell instead is urging Republicans to reflect on the subjects the president raised and engage in bipartisan discussion of potential solutions. ABC's Mary Bruce. For the first time in less.
Here we have our auditor, Marge, and all the supervisors. All right, we have all our supervisors, our auditor Carla, and our drainage clerk Chris, and our engineer Rick Hopper, and some media and looks like potential bidders.
Good, all right. Start over to you, your lead.
All right, are we ready to proceed?
Yep.
This is Chris. I just have a quick question. Do you guys have any bids there at all?
No bids here.
No bids there. Okay, thank you.
How many bids do we have?
3.
3 bids here.
That's your bond for Rachel.
First one will be from Reitzel, that's Reutzel, Reitzel Excavating. Bid bond is in order.
Do you want me to read it, or you want you to read it?
You can if you want to.
Okay,
It'd be the total.
just the total? Okay.
Let's see.
Are they split out by district?
So District 21, District
Oh, okay.
68. And then the main.
The low total on the 3 sections will be who will recommend award to.
So the total of this one is $108,995.
108,995.
Yes.
For Reitzel.
Yep.
And we'll check the math on at least the low bid.
Bid bond.
We have a bid bond here now for Larson Contracting Central. Bid bond is in order.
The bid from Larson Contracting is $66,872.70.
Did you get that? Larson Contracting was $66,872.70.
Yep, thank you.
Made it tough.
Big word for you.
Bid bond.
Bid bond for Corey Jurgens Construction is in order.
What was that name? Corey Jurgens Construction.
CORYJUERGENS.
And the bid from Corey Jurgens is $91,451.
Okay. So you gotta check all the extensions, everything on there to make sure you did the right thing?
Yes, we'll check the math. We typically just check the low 1 or 2. I've never found a big enough error to make a difference beyond that, but we'll quickly check the math here, just take a few minutes.
Okay.
Start going through the paper. You sure in the meantime you don't wanna sing some campfire songs or something? Roger, I'm sure would lead us.
Yeah, I'll lead you on campfire songs. Yeah, you bet.
How much rain did you guys get over there?
Very, I had 2.5 inches, and a mile away it was only an inch. And you guys had 3/10. Yeah, south had 3/10.
I had 1.7 between Bancroft and Twin City.
I know Thompson had a half an inch, I, over on the way to Lake Mills, I had 1.1.
We couldn't have Buffalo. It seemed like it'd have been much more than an inch.
I know, Forest City made national news on ABC. There was video on Ginger Z's thing. Looked like the corner of 9 and 69. People riding through water. It's great to be popular. Apparently our engineer brings Clicker back. We have the results.
The bids were all correct mathematically, so we are, because of the familiarity with Larson Contracting, we're recommending that you award the contract to Larson Contracting in Lake Mills. Our procedure would be is if you award this, we'll get the paperwork together to get to them, we'll get them the notice of award, then they'll get their contracts, performance and payment bond together, get them back to us, and then we'll come to you for signature on the contract.
And this one has a excavation completion date of 12/1/2019, and all work to be done by June 15th of next year.
So they could do pipe work next spring if that's how it works out.
Okay. All right. So I guess that leads us on to our next item on the agenda. Consider for approval contractor for DD 21, joint 68-136 and 68-136 lot 2 repair project.
I'll make that a motion.
To have Larson Contracting.
Have Larson Contracting.
Okay.
Motion, Roger Gart.
Okay, we've got a second from Roger. Motion from Jensvold and a second from Jerks to approve Larson Contracting for the work on DD 21, joint 68-136 and 68-136 Plat 2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All ayes here.
All right, here.
All right. I guess that ends our business together.
What did you say the completion or anticipated completion date was?
Well, completion for excavation was December 1st of this year. All the work, like the pipes and cleanup, all that would be June 15th of next year.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, have a good day.
Okay.
So we're good?
Huh?
We're all good?
We're good.
I
Okay,
think so.
sounds good.
Larson's been real good to work with, and you guys have some history with him too.
Yes.
Seems to be
No
good. So, that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Well, we've had some complaints,
But it's better.
pretty minor compared to the money that was saved.
Oh, yeah.
It all depends on how hungry the contractors are with the bids coming in.
Oh, completely, yeah. I thought we might have more plan holders, more bidders, but this is fine. One good one is all it takes.
Yeah.
So, we're happy.
Thank you, Rick.
You bet.
Yes, thanks, Rick.
How much rain you get at the radio station? Have you heard?
1 to 5 days.
Okay.
I had 2 by my house.
Is that why the grass is always greener at your place?
That big frickin' oak out in front, are you kidding me? I can barely keep the Kentucky blue living out underneath that thing.
Does the oak soak up all the rain for you?
Keeps the sunshine from coming down, the leaves are so thick out there. I have to go cut down branches. Because if you want to mow, you have to be a midget to begin with.
We've got a couple spots where I'm gonna have to, I don't know if I can duck much further, I'm gonna have to get out, so.
Every year, and it seems like it's the same branches that grow back every single year. It's like a hydra, 2 or 3 grow in its place.
I just got my branches burnt from the last storm we had.
meeting.
I wanted to tell you the beaver thing that happened, right? I got roasted at the Ford City Council meeting yesterday because I put out a story having to do with the brush dump, right? And now activity has tripled out at the brush dump since I put the article out. They said that they're burning like crazy out there right now. I wasn't about to say a word. I just stayed real quiet, but Carl spoke up and said something. It's like, wow. Where we had that problem before.
People are angry. I was reading Facebook this morning while I was getting ready for work, and about the the blue bags and, was there anything about that talked about at the meeting last night?
No, but it's common knowledge. People don't like it at all. I mean, we have gotten a couple of calls on our end about, can you do a story? Can we research this? Why is this going on? Mostly it's like renters and tenants that are concerned about it, because like the college kids and things like that, they're having to buy these things and then throw them away in dumpsters. That doesn't make any sense. And there have been a couple of landlords that have also kind of spoken up and said that it's really kind of silly.
When I lived in Thompson, we just had these big rollaway, really liked that, yeah.
I've got one downstairs. I don't understand why we don't. I mean, I've had it for years. I got it at an auction. I understand why we don't do it that way. Because it's easier to hook up, dump, put back down again, save manpower, save time.
I've got 6 of them at my building up there. So anywhere from 4 to 6 get full that given week.
The other thing is you're not lugging those bags out.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can't do that. I've got a neighbor that I have to go help her because she can't carry her own trash out. So.
Yeah, my neighbor uses a wheelbarrow. She can get it outside. She can get it on the wheelbarrow and then takes it to the end of the driveway. But
they can't carry it. And back in the day, I mean, we had that thing down in Arizona. We had a quarter-mile drive to the house. And we just roll that thing right on down, set it up. They knew what to do with it. They just dumped it, and then we rolled it back to the house again.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it when I was in there, when I was in Kansas City, same thing. Just roll it on down. These guys, they loved it because they got their chance to use their fork on the side of the truck. So they just jumped out. They're ready to go. But I suppose the city's got to raise funds. That's one way of doing it. I will call you.
All right.
We go and talk. Get some impressions on this whole thing like we talked about before all this meeting broke out. But I want to talk to you about it, see about it. So.
Okay. You want another enlightened position on it? I'll call Roger Jarks about the last meeting.
That would be wonderful.
I'll give you his number. He got off the board, but he went to the last meeting because the guy that's on it now, the new guy, couldn't be there. It was the guy, Donnie Boss. to spend money we don't have to spend in.
Doesn't make any sense.
We're the only region
Oh,
that's gonna start children's services right now, rather than wait until it's mandated, even though it's gonna be an unfunded mandate anyway.
Well, I wonder will that affect if we go after and sue the legislature for unfunded mandates? If we're already doing it ahead of time, are we cutting our own throats?
What's the rationale? Is it needed?
Oh, yeah, and there's mental health issues out there that need to be taken care of, but right now they're coming out of the money's coming from somewhere else besides property taxes. You know, but,
Well, is that completely true? Because out of the general fund, or no, out of the general supplemental, there's juvenile. So taxpayers are paying for it. It's just through the general supplemental versus funds in.
yeah, that's true.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the payroll claims.
Second.
On a motion from Derby, a second from Century, to approve payroll claims. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We stand adjourned?
What?
Oh, what?
Waste management?
They're gonna get information for it.
Okay.
We don't have a contract right now to look at. I'll try and get the number from Chris, and I'll call the guy instead of him calling me.
Oh, that's Chris's.
thank you for another intriguing morning of dip drainage, guys. I really appreciate
I
it.
know, drainage, it just keeps us all on the edge of our seats, just,
Drainage and roads.
just waiting for the next drop.
Yeah.